Hello and welcome back. I'm Joseph with Kill Beard Company, and today we're going to talk about cold weather beard survival, like snow, wind, and dry air, and how they affect your beard and skin, and basically the health of your skin and your beard. Um, so winter hits the beard twice, typically in the winter. The outside cold plus the inside heat. Probably never thought of that, right? That combo wrecks your skin really fast if you're not taking care of it. I also know many people in general are more dehydrated for some reason in the winter. They don't drink enough water. That plays a role in it too. So we're going to dig into it today, and hopefully this helps you guys take the necessary measures, if you will, to combat the cold, the dryness, and maintain that moisturizing effect we want for our skin and beard so that it looks amazing. And the first thing that we're going to talk about today is why cold air destroys beards. And this is kind of the quick science cliff notes, if you want to call it that. So there's no fluff in this. So cold air equals low humidity, which means that moisture gets pulled from the hair and the skin, leaving the beard brittle and the face nice and tight and itchy. I'm not sure if you've ever had that like that, where your skin kind of just go like this, compresses when you're on the cold. It's happened to me many times. That's what's happening. The moisture is leaving your skin, and it's like a plant. You take the water away, it's going to start to dry out, get brittle, split ends. So likewise, wind friction, the constant rubbing and tugging creates tangles, split ends, and the beard gets frizzy. So not only are we protecting it from getting the moisture to leave the skin, we're also protecting the tips, so it looks healthy. You don't have split ends. It makes it look like it's not a healthy beard. Indoor heat. So indoor heat, like furnaces, just a fireplace, they act like a dehydrator. Skin flakes increase. Even if you're not dry elsewhere, it's still happening. So if you're not outdoors as much, you may be having the indoor heat or the indoor dry air be affecting your beard too. And likewise, if you're outside often and you come home or you start your day, go out in the cold, come on home and it's nice and warm, you got the heat furnace, fireplace on and whatnot, that could be playing a role too because you're not getting enough moisture into your beard, and we need to take care of that. So another thing, a wet beard plus freezing temps is not good either. So you should never go outside. For example, go outside, start from the shower, then not dry off and go outside. I know it sounds kind of weird, but there are people who do that. Typically, if you're using beard products, you're not doing that because you go through the beard oil, balm, or butter, which we'll talk about in here in a moment. And you can check out our series on the perfect beard routine. But typically, you don't want to go outside with all wet because the water expands and stiffens your hair, which makes it fragile, and the beard becomes easier to snap. So you don't want to have basically beardsicles. Beardsicles. Don't have beardsicles, especially starting your day right out the house. The flow of things for beard care, if you will, the pre-cold routine really starts with a good beard wash. I know we talked about it in our beard routine series. A good beard wash, like our advanced beard wash, has no chemicals in it and it doesn't strip or anything. It maintains the good oils. So we want to keep all the good oils on our skin, and we want to discard all the pollutants, if you want to call it that, the dirt, the grime, the pollutants that get on our skin and our beard, but leave all the good stuff. So having a good wash that doesn't strip is very important. And we do this in our advanced beard wash. Also, you need these natural oils in the winter because you're dealing with multiple fronts, if you will, of your beard fighting different elements of dynamics, if that makes any sense. What I'm trying to say is that you need those natural oils and you need to create a good ecosystem for your beard and skin to be protected, basically. And having a wash that is not chemical bound, doesn't say on the bottle strictly stripping wash, is very important not to use those in the winter, at least in our opinion, because we want to keep those good oils. So then we want to, after we get out of the shower, we want to pat dry, damp, dry, and then we want to jump into a beard oil. So our Highland Frost beard oil, this one right here in particular, is made for the winter. It's got thicker oils in there. It's higher viscosity. It takes longer to evaporate, basically. So it creates that barrier that you need, and it gets down to the roots, and it just lasts longer. So you want a good beard oil. It's really going to help stop the itch. And the skin health controls the beard comfort, so you're gonna not always be itching and get that dry, I guess, chappedness, if that makes sense. The beard oil is where it all starts. It gets down to the roots, and how I've always explained it, you want the wash to kind of move all the bad stuff out, um, supplement the good stuff, and then you put the beard oil in to get to the roots. And then we jump into either a beard butter or a beard balm. So beard butter is typically my go-to, especially in more drier weather, like in the summer. But really in the winter, and I mean, this might be controversial, so you can tell me down here in the comments what you think, but I would prefer the beard balm. And the reason why is because, yes, it does have the three butters in it, mango, shea, and kupaku in ours, but also has beeswax. Beeswax is a good protecting ingredient for your beard and your skin for the outside elements. So the heavy products slow moisture loss and add a protective barrier against the wind. So it's kind of like you got the roots for the oil, and then you protect the canopy, if you will, or the top, or you create a top layer with the balm. And so think of it as a shell, if you will. So where I typically like a butter, because I have so many curls in my beard, and I'm not so engaged of straightening it all out and everything. If you're trying to fight the weather and protect your beard during this the winter here, not the summer, during the winter, highly recommend considering using the balm. However, both are solid, so they have more of a solid than the oil. Both are going to be good, but I just think if you're outside more, the balm will be better. If you're only inside, office job, go to work, office job, come back home, and you stay in the house, maybe butter is okay for you. So that's just my thoughts right there on that. But however, you want to wash, oil, balm or butter. If you're outside often, I would use balm. And then you want to use a comb, not a brush. Where some people love their brushes, the Boar's brushes, which I recommend. The comb is a lot less damaging to a potentially fragile a follicle. And if either it's dehydrated a follicle, it's frozen, or you've been outside and it's really cold and it's basically like an icicle. That brush is going to do a lot more damage than a comb. When you're outside, I even would recommend you typically adding an extra 20% more oil. What's 20% more oil? Just consider, what you normally do, and just add maybe half of that or so into your beard. The same thing for balm and butter. I would give it a little bit more generous amount in there, especially if you're going to be, construction worker, mechanic, hunter, hiker, weekend warrior, outdoor person, snowmobiles, etc., like that. We even have a guy who is on ski patrol, and he swears by our butter and balm. And the more fats, the more butter you have, the more protection and barrier you're going to create between you and the cold, or I call it the cold snap, because it's going to take a lot more for the cold to extract that. And also, when the moisture from your breath and everything starts to settle on top of everything being your beard or your follicles, that butter is protecting those. It's kind of creating like a catacomb of a sort. And it's just really interesting how that all plays out. But yeah, so that's what I would do for the pre-cold routine, if you want to call it that. So consider that. There's a few mistakes that people do, and I just want to point them out real quick, because I didn't know these 2 years ago until we started Kill Beard Company, and then I have to be a nerd on some of this stuff. When you're going outside, like I already said a little while ago, don't leave outside. Don't leave the house to go outside with your beard wet. It'll freeze, stiffen, and break. So over-brushing when dry is not a good idea. Brushing a dry beard increases static and breakage. So if you're going to use a brush, use it to move the product through your beard. But afterwards, if you need to style it, I use a comb, or I would just lightly use my fingers to just sculpt it. I wouldn't dig deep into it and really pull on the hair follicles, because most likely you're going to break it and do damage to your beard. So the other thing that people overlook is ignoring the skin underneath their beard. Like Dakota always says around here, happy skin equals happy beard. And I think that should almost be like tattooed on any beard man's shoulder or whatever. Anyways, so happy skin is happy beard. Flakes usually start at the skin, not the hair. And so you got to treat the skin and flakes before they happen, which would equal doing the beard wash, which is not stripping away the good oils, adding the good beard oil that's going to get down to the roots and protect the skin from the itchiness and flakiness, and protect all of that like a canopy or a shell with a balm or a butter. So don't ignore the skin underneath. It's great to have a balm on top. If you don't put oil underneath, you may still get flakes. You still may get itchiness just because you're not taking that extra step of the wash and or the beard oil. Wind and snow defense. Beard balm. That's the reason why I was saying beard balm. It's kind of like I guess you could think of it as like a bearded jacket, or like a windbreaker for your beard. Less moisture loss because you also have that beeswax along with the butter, locking everything in and kind of creating that shell that we're looking for. Yet less tangling and more control. So highly recommend a balm in the winter. So then we got ice buildup. So I know many people are going to go outside and they're going to have at least a mustache be all, it's going to have its own like ecosystem of frost and snow and icicles and everything like that. When you get inside, don't wipe it off, don't scratch it off, don't do anything to it. Let the natural warm air in the house naturally thaw that out. Why? Because it's like a beardsicle. Like that, you're going to crack them and you're going to break it brittle, you're going to create split ends. It's just not a good idea. Once it's thawed out, you just take a nice comb and just slowly just go through it, then jump into the shower. I wouldn't jump in the shower to unthaw your beard because it'll send a shock to it. Just let it all happen naturally. It usually only takes about no more than 30 minutes typically, unless you're a ski patrol person or a backwoodsman or mountaineer or something like that. Maybe it'll take longer than that. But usually 30 minutes or less, it's going to naturally melt. Then you can just continue on your day or your routine, shower or whatnot. But yeah, so be careful of the ice buildup. Don't try to crack it. Don't try to break it off. Don't try to comb through it. Wait till it's unthawed. The other thing is snowball. And on top of that, so snow melt management. So when snow is melting or the icicles are melting, you don't want to necessarily rub, like I was saying. You want to kind of like blot it. Because if you don't and you just kind of start rubbing it off and everything, you're gonna get knots and frizz. Also, you're doing damage. So really the scope of things is just let it thaw out and then slowly take a comb through and you're good to go. So the indoor damage, which is kind of the silent killer around here. So heater flakes. If flakes show up mostly at home, it's dryness from indoor air. It's not necessarily your wash. However, we'll get back to that in a second. The If you're using a shampoo, if you're using a stripping agent, something like that, most definitely that's not helping. But it's usually the dry air in the house. So I know sometimes we can get lax in the house because we think that we're outside of the elements, etc., like that, which for the most part we are. But if you have dry air and you don't live in a humid environment, most likely the dryness is from the dry air. So you need to make sure that you take the proper steps, even if you're not going outside, to accommodate for the elements inside your house. You also need a good nighttime beard routine. Today, we are releasing to the public the knowledge of our new products, the Night Watch Beard Serum and the Night Watch Beard Butter Recovery Butter. And those are going to be perfect for any time of the year, but especially when humidity is low, especially at nighttime, that you're going to want these to maintain that nice moisturization effect. Also, it's going to create less static, less frizz, and more healthier beard in general. So next week we'll talk about Night Watch and conclude our series on the perfect beard routine. But a good nighttime beard routine is essential for a healthy beard and to prepare you for the night before or the day before when you go out to the elements. So then there's the hot shower trap. So hot water feels great. It's refreshing. It kind of just wakes up the senses and just gets you awake, right? That actually, too hot of water is going to actually strip the oils by itself, not including the potential body washes, shampoos, and whatever else, stripping oils and washes that you may use. Just a really hot water on the beard is not good for those good oils. You want to like a lukewarm, warm water. Now, I'm not saying you can't have a hot shower. I'm just saying directly to your beard, just, turn it back a little bit, make it a little bit like lukewarm. do your beard business, if you will, and then just make it a little bit hotter for the rest of your body. This is just going to take care of the ecosystem that we talk about on our beards so that your beard is nice and healthy, and you can take those next steps of oil, balm, and butter, and then the night serum and the night butter. So don't use too hot of water because that hot water is probably doing more harm than good, besides the giving you that sensation of rejuvenation of a sort. So there's also another thing that people overlook, or that creates indoor damage, and that's your pillowcase. So the friction factor, if you want to call it that. Friction factor is basically where the dry winter hair grabs fabric, and the smoother pillowcases have less rubbing and reduces breakage. So your pillowcase does play a role in the health of your beard. If tossing and turning, if you're a stomach sleeper, etc., like that, if you toss and turn all night, you're pulling and tugging and rubbing your beard. You want it to glide along your pillowcase in general, so that you're doing less damage to your beard. And like I said, in the winter, you have more static, etc., like that, and you're going to have more opportunities for damage to your beard. So if you can have like a silk like pillowcase, that may work much better. I'm not telling you to go out and get a new pillowcase. However, it's something to consider, especially if you want to grow a beard nice and long like this, or you're just worried about the general health of your beard. It's a simple fix, but potentially it's one of those things that may be keeping you from the beard that you want if you're one of those hard sleepers. So my cold weather grooming schedule. So I adjust depending on the seasons. So in the winter, I use a beard wash or advanced beard wash 2 to 3 times a week, so 2 to 3 days a week, just to maintain those good oils and have more of those good oils in my beard, on my skin, that maybe you may need during the spring and summer when it's more humid. I also will use my daily beard oil. I may add an extra 20% more, just because I know of the different dynamics outdoors and indoors. And also, I'm using balm more often, especially if I'm going outdoors. It's just that extra added of that beeswax that kind of creates that shell with the butter that's really going to help your beard and your skin maintain its moisture and kind of create that shield from the outdoor elements. And then I'm going to do a weekly split end check. Like I want to check and make sure that I'm not damaging my beard. And then I got to be asking myself through these steps. Then I have to ask myself, have I been drinking water? Have I been keeping up on my beard wash 2 to 3 times a week? Have I been adding my beard oil? Do I need to add more beard oil? Have I been using a beard balm? All these things I'm planning to have a good nighttime routine with the night watch serum and the nighttime butter. All these things are going to play into effect where I want to make sure that I'm doing the right things, and checking your beard split ends is really important. And if you get some split ends, such as life, just trim them down and continue on. It is what it is. The damage has already been done. You can't reverse it. So you can only move forward and continue to adjust and put more product in to make sure that you're balancing out the good stuff and keeping away the bad stuff, which is the air, the elements, cold snap, water, etc., like that, or the freezing water, etc., like that. So finally, we're going to do the extreme cold checklist. Sub-freezing, snow days. This week, across the country, 100 million plus people are experiencing a really cold, cold winter right now. And if you have a beard, like I've already mentioned, I'd go heavier on the balm and the butter. Go heavier. This may be one of those times, it shouldn't feel greasy. However, it may feel like you got actual product in there than the natural look of not having product in there. However, we're thinking about the health of your skin and your beard. That should outweigh, no pun intended, if you put a little bit extra product in there. So comb, don't brush. Let your beard come to room temperature, and then slowly comb through, detangle, and move on. The brush, just keep it to the side. Unless you really need to style it, then do a light brush to style and shape it. But the comb should be all you need. So your emergency thaw protocol for your beard. Warm indoors, bolt dry, apply oil, and then seal. Don't force detangling when it's cold. Cover smart. Make sure that the fabric that you're putting around your face and on your beard is nice and tight. It doesn't have thick fabric. Something like a baklava where it's nice and mesh. Probably the best way to go. If there's something like that equivalent to a scarf, I haven't worn a scarf in a long time. Maybe a gator neck of a sort might work. That's something that may be something to look into. In fact, I like the idea of a gator neck personally. Have your beard inside your jacket, put the gator neck around you. I think that'd be a really good idea. So those are your cold weather protocols to ensure that when you're in those extreme cold snow environments, that you do the least damage to your beard, and like always, keep it healthy. So 3-part recap: dry the beard, oil the skin, seal it against the wind, balm or butter, scarf or baklava or gator neck, and that's the formula for success for your beard in the winter. Also, if you have any winter problems that you would like to ask or questions you may have, throw them down in the comments. We'd love to talk about them, chat with you about them, hopefully guide you in the right direction so that you don't do any damage to your beard. We all have different environments, different beards, different lifestyles, etc. like that, so it's really unique, but we're here to help you out. So once again, I'm Joseph with Kilt Beard Company, and like we like to say around here, continue to defy ordinary, be kiltaceous.